There are only two things in the way of you achieving your biggest goals. The first is your beliefs about what you think you are capable of. The second is the skills that you need to acquire to get there. That's really it. Your beliefs are the most important part, and in this video, you're going to learn how to stop holding yourself back, why the stories you tell yourself are so important, the key areas poker players get stuck, and how to create beliefs in alignment with your goals. So let's dive in. How to stop holding yourself back. The problem that many poker players run into is that they want to have success in poker, but they don't truly believe it's possible for them. Maybe you want to create financial freedom for you and your family. You see that other players have achieved it, but for you, it seems unattainable. Or maybe you want to play high stakes poker and battle the best players in the game, but you wonder if you're actually good enough. It's almost like you have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. You want to go full speed towards your goals, but there's lingering doubt that's holding you back. What if you fail? What if you aren't good enough? What if it doesn't work out? These thoughts can get very dominant, and over time, you learn to put your dreams to one side and play life small. You grind out enough money to pay the bills, save up for a holiday, and put some money towards that house for the future. But lingering inside, there's that feeling that you are capable of so much more. You try to push it away, suppress it with distractions, social media, or alcohol, but it doesn't go away. There's an internal drive to reach your full potential, to push yourself and to become the best version of yourself you can be. Are you listening to it? Or has the voice of self-doubt become too strong? The stories we tell ourselves. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a professional middle distance runner. When I was 11, I joined my local running club and I would train with the best runners in the area, and I'd race in competitions around the country against the country's best athletes. Now, I got pretty good, but I was never able to make that breakthrough. I never truly believed that I could win a national event or compete against the best runners. I told myself that they must be more talented than me, they must be training harder, and that for me, I just couldn't catch up with them. I just couldn't reach the level that they had reached. But it was just a story. Instead of training harder to try and close the gap, I would distract myself with computer games and socializing with friends. Then when I turned 18, I would go out partying multiple times a week, often right after training sessions. Now I had the perfect excuse for not performing at my best. I could say, I could beat those guys, but I'm too busy having a good time with my friends, socializing. Now, though I enjoyed that part of my life and it was a lot of fun, there was a nagging feeling that maybe I'm capable of more. Maybe I need to find out what I can actually do, what my full potential looks like. But I didn't know how to listen to that. So I ran away from it and found ways to not put all my effort in. Then when I started playing poker, the exact same pattern repeated itself. I made great progress at first, and within 2 years, I was playing mid-stakes. I remember playing $300 games and hitting supernova rakeback, and my mind thinking, this is the ceiling for me. This is where I belong. This is my level. I would look up at the guys playing 500s and 1Ks, and I would think to myself, those guys are so much better than me. If I played them, they would destroy me. They've got so much more experience, they're more talented, they're smarter, and they're better than me. Again, I settled for being middle of the pack. Good, but not great. For the next 2 years, I stayed at mid-stakes and never really tested myself. This was all because I didn't believe in myself. Or more accurately, I believed I wasn't good enough. When you see these patterns playing out multiple times in different areas of your life, it becomes either a narrative that you keep living out or something that you get to challenge and question. For myself, I started to understand what was going on internally, how I was limiting myself, and it changed everything. So for you, where in your life are you holding yourself back right now? Which stories have you not examined for a long time, which still have you doubting yourself? Now, having worked with poker players for the past 7 years, I've identified 3 key areas where poker players limit themselves, which I want to share with you in this video. The key areas poker players get stuck. Number 1, your money ceiling. We all have a story we tell ourselves about money. How much is enough? How much are we capable of making? For some of you, that's enough to cover the bills and living expenses. For others, a 10K bankroll or 10K monthly profits is what you aim for. If you don't learn to question your relationship with money and the stories you tell yourself, it soon becomes an imaginary ceiling that caps you from moving forward. When you get past your ceiling, you'll find ways to self-sabotage yourself to get back to your comfort level. Have you ever had a big winning month only to lose motivation to grind or end up playing games that you shouldn't be playing? That's you self-sabotaging yourself because subconsciously you don't believe that you're worth more. So what's your story around money? What's your current ceiling that you settle for or that you can't see yourself getting past? We'll come back to how to get past that towards the end of this video. The next area I see poker players hold themselves back is around their potential. Number 2, your skill ceiling. It's easy to look at players who play higher than you and assume that they have talents that you don't have. I did this my whole life. What you don't often see is how much work they've had to put in to get to where they are now. I remember reading a 2+2 blog of one of the 1K regulars, which he wrote when he was stuck at mid-stakes. I remember thinking, wow, this guy was stuck right where I am. But obviously, he must have been a lot smarter than me to move past this level and get to the higher levels. He must have skills and talents that I just don't have. It's easy to get trapped in your current narrative and think because you haven't broke through and have success so far, you're not going to be able to reach higher levels in the future. So what's your current story about your potential? Where do you think your skills and talents can take you? Maybe you've been stuck at the same stakes for years, like I was, and you feel like you can't get past them. Or you've tried a shot take a higher stake, only to get crushed by the regs there and have to move straight back down. If we don't question them, these can become powerful stories that create an obstacle that stops us moving forward. Then the third area I see players limit themselves is with how much they can get out of themselves on a consistent basis. Your capacity ceiling. A lot of people think how they have acted in the past is going to be how they act in the future. Maybe you cruise through school, doing the bare minimum to pass your exams. Or you could be someone who's always stayed up late at night and you struggle to get yourself out of bed in the morning. Then you get into poker and you hear that everyone is spending all their days grinding and studying and you feel like you just can't keep up. You label yourself as lazy and someone who lacks discipline. Maybe you get tired quickly and you find it hard to push yourself. So what's your current story about what you think you're capable of? Which habits do you think are so ingrained that they've almost become a part of you? I know these questions are hard to answer, but once you do some exploring and looking at the current stories that you're telling yourself, this is where the fun begins. How to upgrade your beliefs. So the first step to realize is that these are just stories. Stories that you are choosing to believe. If you want to hold on to them, you can. But if you want to move past them, you've got to start questioning them and breaking down the assumptions that they're built on. If you're ready to make massive progress, here are 2 questions you can ask yourself. Is this story I'm telling myself actually true? Bonus question, what are the facts it's based on? And then what evidence or examples do I have to disprove this belief? So for example, when I was stuck at mid-stakes, I told myself I wasn't good enough to play high stakes. When I questioned and examined that, I realized, is this true? Well, I haven't actually played a sample at high stakes yet. So the real answer is, I don't actually know. The facts that it was based on were that I thought the higher stakes players were much better than me and that I couldn't compete against them. This was just an assumption. Then I started to look for some evidence to disprove this assumption, and I realized that I'd moved up stakes many times over the last few years. I'd taken the challenge of playing a new level against better players, and I'd learned, adapted, and improved until I could beat that level. I had a track record with myself of playing a higher game, adapting, and becoming better. Why couldn't I do the same again? It's hard to state how important it is to question and break down the truth behind the stories that we tell ourselves. Once you've done that and you've seen the flaws in your way of thinking, you can start to create a new story that moves you forward. Try asking yourself, what new story would I want to believe instead of the old one? What evidence or examples do I already have to show this is possible? Now you can get creative and start to consciously shape your mind. For myself, the new story became I was someone who could always learn and get better. I was capable of playing high stakes because even if I wasn't good enough right away, I was willing to do whatever it took to improve. I had many examples I could lean on from the stakes I'd already managed to beat in previous years. This was no different. I was just telling myself a different story. When I was battling mid-stakes, I told myself, I could do this. I can get better. I can learn. But for some reason, when it came to playing 500s or 1Ks, my mind created a ceiling. Adam's not good enough. You're not smart enough. You can't do this. All right? It's so powerful when we realize we're going through life and we create little stop points, which we think we can't get past. It's all in our mind. It's all a ceiling that we've created. But if we don't examine it and break it down, it'll keep us stuck. I also remember looking at some of the high stakes players and remind myself that some of these players were playing the same stakes as me not long ago, and they were capable of moving up stakes, so why couldn't I? This really shifted my mindset, and I started to realize I was possibly capable of more than I thought I was. Then the final step is taking action. Nothing in your life changes until you learn how to take action on your new thoughts and goals. Ask yourself, if I really believed this new story was true, what would I be doing? How can I start acting in alignment with this right away? For myself, the answer was simple. I had to get my hands dirty and start playing some 1Ks. This was a tough challenge. The first day of loading up those lobbies was scary. I had some big losing days, which at the time were very painful and challenging, but I soon started to realize I can do this. It took many months of playing good players, battling, losing, winning, mixed bag of results. But over time, I got pretty good at right battling. And I finally stepped into, I can do this. Rather than theorizing, could I do this? After a number of months of playing guys, building samples, I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it because I was learning every day. Some guys were still ahead of me, and I was trying to close the gap. Other guys I felt comfortable against, and I could play them more. But the whole experience was, I can do this, and I can close the gap to where I need to get to. This is the simplest, yet the hardest step of the process. It's where the rubber meets the road. You need to take action to show yourself this is what you really want, and this is what you're capable of. Every day, you have the opportunity to reinforce the old story that has been holding you back, or to strengthen the new story that is going to move you forward. The story of two wolves. An old Native American story has it that a grandfather was teaching his grandson lessons about life. He said to the boy, "A fight is going on inside me. It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is angry, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. The grandson paused for a minute before asking the grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old man simply replied, "The one you feed." This is a powerful story that highlights how the inner battle of the mind is won. You get to choose which thoughts and beliefs you want to feed. Over time, they become stronger and more dominant. Key summary. So to summarize how to stop holding yourself back in 5 steps. Step 1, choose an area of your life where you are not progressing. Step 2, examine the stories you are telling yourself. Step 3, question if the stories are really true. Step 4, create new stories to replace them with. Step 5, take the actions of someone who believed the new story. This is your life work. Once you work yourself past one ceiling, there becomes a new ceiling for you to remove. It's a constant game of leveling up. I'm going to end this video with some Tupac lyrics that summarizes the path better than I could. Once you get an understanding on the game and what the levels and the rules of the game is, then the world ain't no trick no more. The world is a game to be played. Enjoy the game, play it the best you can. Thanks for watching.